I asked on Twitter, I asked on Instagram, and I asked a couple of friends for questions for a Q&A video for you guys, for the channel. Hey friends, my name is Burhan, and on this channel we talk about business tools, we talk about systems, and we talk about marketing in general to actually help you grow your audience and make more impact in the world. So let's get into these questions. I've got them all on my Notion page. I'm gonna go through them and answer them as quickly as I can. The first question is, should landing pages have a form or a pop-up for lead generation? This is one of those subjective things. You can have a pop-up which is going to be a button that just shows on the page, and then there's a pop-up that actually shows, and people can enter their email address and their name or their phone number, whatever information you want to collect. I personally like the fields on the page because it reduces the friction. People see a form and it's like, oh, I just need to enter my email address, and it's one click and then they go over to the thank you page. Facebook also doesn't like pop-ups much, so if you're running ad campaigns, then a pop-up is not going to be something that Facebook likes a lot. But exit pops do have a significant improvement in terms of lead generation to be able to collect leads. If you're just using organic traffic, then and the forms are short, small, then just have it embedded on the page itself. How do you know how much budget for a project in terms of ad spend and target CPA? This comes from my friend in the UK. It really depends on how much or how expensive your product is. So if you're selling a $50 product or a $50 item, if it's a merch related item, then you got to look at your costs. You got to look at your advertising budget from that point of view and what your profit margin is that you want it to be. I recommend 30% of your marketing budget. If 1/3 is for the product itself, 1/3 is for advertising, and 1/3 is for the business. And for other things, then on a $50 product, you're looking at somewhere $12.50 or something like that. You've got to really look at what you're selling, how much you can afford in terms of advertising, and then calculate how many units you want to sell, and then budget accordingly. It's kind of hard to predict how many items you're going to sell of a specific product. The general rule of thumb is the more money you have to spend on advertising, the more money you make. Ideally, the more profit you're going to have. So keep that in mind when you're calculating your budget. So the next question is, how do I get leads as a consultant starting from zero? A couple of different ways to do this. One is create a profile, create a website, create something that says what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for. Have a page on there that allows you to embed a Calendly or an Acuity scheduling app, something that can actually have people book calls with you on a schedule. You could go into Facebook groups, communicate your value, interact with the communities there, tell them what you do, talk about different skills, give advice, comment on people's posts. Do the same thing on LinkedIn. Go post content on LinkedIn, but also comment on people's things, engage with the communities that are on LinkedIn. Do the same for Twitter. Make threads on Twitter, post videos on Twitter, integrate yourself into the communities on Twitter if that's where your people are hanging out. And then when people start reaching out to you, they might reach out to you over the DMs, or you can invite them to calls. Those are all very good ways to use organic networking to do this. So these are all free ways. The other way is, go talk to people on podcasts. So email a whole bunch of podcast hosts, people who run podcasts, and them to be on your podcast. Like, offer value, show them that you have integrity, show them that you're not just going to be selling on the call. Offer value to their audience. You'll be able to find clients through their communities as well. And then guest blogging or collaborating with people on YouTube to make videos together. Those are also ways that you can put your name out there to actually publish some content and have somebody shout you out, or at least recommend you. How does one get traction as a freelancer on all major platforms like Upwork, etc.? Yeah, so this certainly is interesting because I started on Upwork. I started at $11 an hour 7 years ago. My strategy back then was to have a look at all of the profiles, or some of the profiles that are in my niche, digital marketing, who are doing the same work, having a look at their profiles, and basically I stole and I borrowed some of their bios, rewrote and remixed 5 people's different bios to make my own, obviously based on my own experience, based on my education, based on what I had done in the digital marketing space already. And so I basically created my profile that way. People could see what I was doing. I had the language already down. I had my title. I had my offers available. And I reached out to people. For 2 weeks, I was just reaching out to people constantly just to look for work, and not going in the generic way. Actively researching their websites. I was actively researching their social media platforms. And then when they spoke to me, or when they responded to me, I spoke to them in an intelligent way to actually give them value, to show them that I had a look at their profiles and that I was interested in working for them. If you're starting from zero as a freelancer on Upwork, then that's the way to do it, is to actually put time into it, make your profile so that it works, so that it says exactly what you do and why you do it, and the value that you can offer clients. How do you determine your fees on Upwork? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to think about what is your cost of living, what is your rent, what is your food, your electricity, all of those things. Factor all of those things out, and then say, okay, if you want to work 20 hours a week on Upwork, calculate what your hourly rate is from a cost point of view, maybe double that rate, triple that rate, and then post on your profile that that's the rate that you're going to start at. You've really got to look at other people based on their experience. I copied the ideas for the bio, but I also looked at their rates and I looked at their history. I looked at how much money were they earning when they started, what were the type of jobs they were doing, what were the rates that they were getting from an hourly basis point of view and also from a fixed price point of view, based my rate around that. But if you have a goal of within 2 years or within a couple of years, you want to get to a certain rate, then that's probably the best place to start. How do I keep up with new stuff? So this goes back to, keeping yourself updated in the industry. As a digital marketer, there's a lot of stuff going on. There are news related items, there are updates on apps, there are changes to legislation, there are just changes in the marketplace. And so it's one of those areas where it's just so broad. There's so much going on that it's almost impossible to keep up to date with everything. But I go back to this rule of, if there's something newsworthy in the world, I'm not always actively seeking the news, but I base my life on, well, if something is important to me, then somehow or the other I will get wind of it. And so as long as I'm sort of following my gut feeling, or if I have a bit of time and I'm opening emails or I'm checking my email and a headline or a title or a subject line on an email actually catches my eye, and I click on that thing and it takes me to some newsworthy item, then I get updated. So most of the time I'm subscribed to newsletters of people who are actually sending out news or putting out ideas or putting out updates. One of the best websites to follow is Social Media Examiner. They have a lot of information, a lot of newsworthy things in terms of updates of platforms, updates on what's going on in the world, in terms of legislation. All of these things are covered on that website. Most of my information comes through newsletter subscriptions, or they come through Facebook groups. Sometimes somebody will ask a question that's really interesting, that's new. So what's the next level of marketing? Well, I think from an advertising point of view, it's an interesting time because we've gotten away with direct advertising through targeting on Facebook and Google and all these other platforms. And a lot of those targeting options are going away because of Apple's recent announcements, the way they're treating advertisers and privacy, and also with email coming up later in the year. Advertising itself is changing. It's going to be more brand focused. It's going to be more storytelling and a focus on quality. In terms of marketing in general, when it comes to content and creating value for people, whether you're in an educational space or entertainment space, the level of quality that we now need to produce with good cameras, good lighting, good sound, all of these different things, it's even more important to be able to create good videos. Marketing is going to change. It's going to get a lot harder as more and more platforms come up, as more and more competition comes up. But it's good because from a challenge point of view, we have to always be changing. We always have to be improving. And so from a growth point of view, that's the thing that helps you with your marketing. And if you can get those things right, then you will automatically, be a step ahead of everybody else. How to sell yourself authentically? This is a good question. So authenticity is something that you just have to exude. You just have to, be authentic. Now, how do you be authentic? If you're authentic, it basically means that you're truthful. And how do you be truthful is you stick to your values, right? If you value integrity, if you value time, if you value good quality, if you value promise and keeping your promise, then that's going to hold you in good stead. Got to communicate that to your people. So once you've built the relationship with somebody and you're understanding of their problems and you actually have a solution, you have a genuine solution to that problem, then you don't have to sell, because then the person is going to say, hey, how can I work with you? Because I think what you're saying is interesting and what you're saying can help. So that's where you want to come to. You want to get to that point of somebody asking you how they can work with you because they like you, because they trust you, because they think you're authentic. You can't say I'm authentic. You have to be authentic. How did I get started as a digital marketer? Before I actually started with digital marketing, I was selling TVs, just buying cheap from big box stores. Garments were a thing back then before we had smartphones with GPS. I bought garments at a reduced price and then flip them. I was also a carpenter, and making furniture for people was a fun exercise for me. But through all of those ventures, so all of those things that I was experimenting with and just trying to make money from, most of my clients came from Facebook or a website called Gumtree. What I realized was this online space, digital marketing area was definitely gaining traction. In South Africa, we were always behind the rest of the world, but I could see potential in the fact that businesses were going to start using this. And I had also joined a course to learn some of these things in digital marketing. The skills that I learned from that MLM scheme was very interesting and actually got me going to learn Facebook ads, to learn landing pages, to learn marketing funnels. That was a good foundation. I just applied that on Upwork and to my clients who I found on Upwork, and it basically just went on from there. What do I love about digital marketing? I think it's just the changes. It's the updates, the constant changes that are happening all the time around us. Not only with the legislation, which keeps us on our toes, but also just the fact that like apps and all of these tools have got to be updated all the time. And as competition gets more and more, people are finding very creative, very interesting ways to do things on the internet. And then there's the challenge, right? The challenge of actually putting up a business or putting up a funnel or putting up a campaign and then making it succeed. The ability to be able to get to that point where we're experimenting and we're playing around and we're trying to make things work is really fascinating for me. What do you think is the best email marketing platform for somebody starting out online? This is an interesting question. There are a lot of debates out there in terms of what are the best tools to use. I don't necessarily recommend one specific tool. It really depends on what your use case is. If you're somebody just starting out with newsletters, then you most probably want to start with a Review or Substack or maybe Facebook Bulletin if you have that available. Those are great tools to actually start for free, start building up an audience, get used to writing, creating content, building up an audience. Or if you're somebody who's a little bit more advanced, you already have a website, you've got a business, I would probably recommend ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit. ActiveCampaign's, I think, a little bit more complex and a little bit more intricate to use. ConvertKit's more creative friendly and a little bit more intuitive in that way. Both tools are great, depending on which side of the spectrum, whether you're on the free end or just starting out. And if you're a little bit more advanced, then those are the tools I recommend. What is your biggest why when you first started on this YouTube journey? So I started YouTube in 2014. They're quite shitty, don't go watch them. Well, I knew that I wanted to educate, so that was one thing. And two, I knew that it was a skill that was going to help me speak better. It was going to help me present better. I've always been interested in Toastmasters and standing on stage or getting to that point of actually having an audience or speaking to an audience. So speaking to the camera right now is practice for me to actually get used to delivering a message. YouTube is a great platform for education, and so being able to teach people how to do stuff is important to me. I do that with my clients one-on-one right now, but YouTube gives me that ability to be able to teach a mass audience. I can't ignore the fact there's a business behind it, right? There's monetization on YouTube. There are courses that I'm working on. There are clients that may come through the YouTube channel as well. And so growing the YouTube channel will help grow the business as well. My why is pretty deep in education and just the business side of what we can do with YouTube. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, and we'll be doing a Q&A probably in the next month or so. We shall see. I am planning on doing a few more. This was fun. If you want to check out some other videos over here, or I think they're over here. Thank you so much. Bye for now.